what we were doing here is she's very blonde, as you can see. She already has a really nice face frame here. It needs a little bit of a touch up, and I'm gonna touch that up first. I'm gonna be using our lightener for that, and then I'm gonna go through this section here and start to add some dimension into there. Because a lot of times, less is more. What we leave out is equally as important as what we actually put into the hair. So you can see here, she's been getting, I'm guessing, lots and lots of highlights, right? So she gets lots and lots of highlights, you can see here. She already has depth under here, but also very bright ends. I don't want to take anything all the way through. A lot of times, especially if you're classically trained or are just learning about balayage and adding depth back into the hair, how did we normally add depth back into the hair? We did it by highlight, low light, highlight, low light, highlight, low light. You know, going in, whether it's 2 highlights, 1 low light or something, whatever it was, but then we would take it all the way through, all the way through, all the way through. And it might be a good look for some people, but for our lived-in hair-looking clients, we want to make sure that we maintain these ends brighter. And the way we do that is we don't want to bring it all the way down. We want it to fade naturally from the scalps here through the mid-length and down to the bottom here. So it's almost like more ombre without that harsh ombre line. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to section out a face frame. This is, I'm guessing, where you part your hair, right? Oops, hey, hello. Okay. So what I'm going to do is to section off this face frame from the part to the high recession. I'm going to create a little bit of a half moon shape there. Do you mind coming to the front? Maybe to just like this front area, that'd be great. Perfect, okay. So now I've got this section here. This is gonna be where I create have you seen my $1 million piece or something similar? I mean, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. It's a face frame I do. So what I'm gonna do here is, you have a lot going on here at your face frame. No offense, no. Lots of baby hairs, lots of like, you know, you're beautiful. There's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with you as a person. It's not you, it's me. I wanted something really easy. This is not easy. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna take this in 17 sections. I'm just gonna pull out these front pieces here. Welcome to your world. Exactly, right? But this is good. You can see something real. You know, not everybody has a perfect straight across mannequin hairline. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, and this would be something like if you have somebody that's got like a widow's peak or zigzags like she has up here in the front, you're gonna have to take your time and go through it. So I'm gonna just do a little bit here and there. So we want to make sure that we've got some foils here at the beginning so that when she puts her hair back, you're gonna see a nice consistent blonde at the front, because we want to make sure that we're updating this look here. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna go ahead and take a little baby light here. Nice and natural. The most natural way you can foil a baby hairline is using baby lights. So I'll take my product. Got to make sure I suck in my gut when I do this. Sometimes like, suck it in. I'm getting a dad bod. It sucks. Go ahead and pop that in here. Lock it in place. And then we will move over to the other little zigzag. Let's see, so right behind that, I'm gonna this is a bit challenging. I'm out of here. So right here, I'm just gonna take it back a little bit further, and then I'm gonna follow it up with a second baby light. I'm gonna try to do it in as few foils as possible. Get that nice baby light. Pop it in there. We're just going to touch up the roots here. And this does tone, and it's a bit of a progressive toner, so the longer you keep it on, the more it's going to tone. But it will take you to, even from, her hair is not super dark, it's like a level 6, but it'll take us to a nice pale yellow in a very short amount of time. So if somebody already has very porous ends here, I don't want to drag it all the way through. I'll wait a little bit toward the end, maybe for the last 5 minutes. If I really needed to pull it through or break a line of demarcation, I would do it then. Otherwise, we'll just pop it out of the way like you would use any other lightener. If you leave it on too long on super porous ends, nothing's going to happen, nothing bad. It'll just be like you put a purple shampoo on it, you know, and but it'll come off of it with a shampoo. It's not going to stain it. Okay, so. Anybody come from far away? Where? I hear some yes. Where? Knoxville. North Dakota. Dallas. Amazing. All the way to see me? That's amazing. Thank you so much for being here. New York. Salt Lake. Greece. You win. Brazil. Amazing. North Carolina, you guys are amazing. I figured everybody would say Florida. Like, thanks for making the trip. But isn't it nice to be back at a hair show? It's so nice. It's so nice to see people, even if you're just seeing half of their face. The energy, you just can't beat a hair show. Okay, so I'm gonna do one more on this side here, just so that, because I've got 2 foils on this side. I'm gonna do one more here, and then I'm gonna move into a little bit of a tease. I'm gonna tease right after this. Then we'll get into the dimensional part of it. The nice thing about this lightener too is it spreads so well, it doesn't swell. Again, it's ammonia free and it does not burn your hands at all. And for somebody like me that never wears gloves, that's a big plus. So directly behind now, I'm going to take a little bit of a triangle section here. You know what I've been doing too recently is anybody do air touch? I've been taking thicker sections with my air touch. I don't have a blow dryer here, but I'm gonna probably do some at the booth or later. I think I go on a 1. I'm gonna do some air touch balayage there, so you should come and check that out, because you kind of do it in the same way. You just take bigger sections, you push those shorter hairs out of there, and that especially works well for somebody that is tangles easily. You know those clients that they just cringe if you comb their hair a little bit on the rough side, or for those sensitive scalped clients. So what I'm doing, I just tease that a little bit, just push it away so that I'll give it a bit of a softness to it when we comb it out. I did a very light section here, so it'll still have the brightness up nice and high. Bring that up to the tease. If you go into the tease a little bit, it's all right. Don't freak out. Don't freak out. Everybody just relax. We're going to get through this. Okay. Pop that out of the way. Fold it up. Now, one thing that I've learned with doing these face frame pieces, and with what I call the $1 million piece, is when you start to go back with teasing, especially if you go back section after section after section, if you go to the same point each time, you're going to create a line on the side. It might be a blended line, but you're still going to create a line. So how do you avoid that line? How do you create more of that teardrop effect as you're moving back through the face frame? So the way we do that is I'm going to take another sliver right behind it. It's a larger section now. It's more of a rectangle. I'm going to do a little bit of a tease, just like I did before. I always elevate it up top here when I have this when I'm on the top of the head. Tease it just a little bit. Clean it up here. Take a foil. Pop this on the lower tease so it knocks it out of the way. Hold the hair with tension. And then push that off of the foil so I can get up a little bit higher. Now I can see what I need to paint here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some paint, paint a little bit on the hair, and then let go of that, and I'm going to pull the foil down to the foil directly below it. And what that does is it starts to create a little bit of depth without me overthinking it, like where do I place the depth? I'm going to do a little bit of a flick up here. You don't need to go too far off the foil or off the foil really at all. I went off a little bit, but this is surface painting here, so that's going to create more of a blend, give us some blend insurance there. So we don't have a harsh line. There's a little bit of warmth here, so I'm just pulling it through. And might drag that down a little bit later, but it's already super bright, so I'm not worried about that. Pop that up here, lock it into place. I'm going to do the same thing directly behind that. Make sure my section is something that I can work with. If it's too thick, then I need to take another section. I think I can. It's a little too thick. I would love to do it in one, but if we want to keep that brightness up high, we need to make sure that we're not using too big sections. Make sure they're nice and evenly distributed too, if we want a nice even tease. So I've got this section here. Push those shorter hairs out of the way. If your client doesn't have any layers, then teasing is not a good option. And then maybe something like air touch would help to push some of those shorter hairs out of the way. Again, pop that right there. Put some of the Luna in her hair. If the tease starts to get in your way, you can take a clip and clip it to the section behind. That'll give you more of a clean painting area. So I'll paint a little bit on here, pull the foil down just a little bit to match up with the foil just below it, which matched up to the foil below that. Almost there, and there we go. You can see that? That way each foil that I put in the hair gets a little bit lower, and it's going to have that teardrop effect going back. Pull that down a little bit so it has a little bit of a blend. We can also this is a great lightener for doing wet balayage as well. I'm not a huge fan of wet balayage until this lightener, because it does tone the hair as it lifts. So you can mix these two together, you get like a nice 15 volume, put it on the hair for 5 to 10 minutes, and it's just amazing what the result is. So do I want to do any more here, or do I want to leave it alone? I'm going to do one more directly behind this. How much time do I have? Not a lot of time. Okay, so I want to make sure that I jump into the diamond dimension. We can always add a little bit more here, but that's 3 foils back to back with a couple of on the hairline here. So let's move into the dimensional aspect of it here. So we've got this sectioned off here. Move into, this is about a 6.5. We're using Wella Color Touch 671, which is a brown ash. Absolutely love that color. Mixed with 7 Stroke 03, which is a natural gold. We're doing our best to match her natural color, and at the end, we may or may not need to go back and root shadow. If we root shadow anywhere, it would be under here, but we're gonna leave all this alone right now. We're just gonna focus on this area and then have all this depth fill in all the rest of this. Like, you don't have to go through all this hair to add dimension. We can do it all in this section here, and she's got a lot of hair. It's very thick. So we can do it here, and that's really all we need to do. So what I'm going to do clean this area up a little bit here. Just knock this out of the way so I don't pull any sections into my area up here. Go ahead and separate this. Let's see, what am I doing? I'm gonna just do it all once. Screw it. Okay. So I'm gonna go back and forth and work my way up. As balayage artists, a lot of times we think on the fly. So we think it's nice to have a strategy, but it's also nice to know how to personalize things. And you might have an idea in your head, but when you actually get to it, you're like, okay, I'm gonna change things up. And you got it. The more you practice, the more confident you're gonna be in actually changing things up. So what I'm doing here now, I wanna make sure that whatever depth we create in here is gonna blend nicely. So I'm gonna go through this entire section here, which is about 1/2 inch thick. Drop that out for some natural depth. Chunky weave. I'm gonna grab my board here. Push that right on there. Grab my product, start working it down. I'm going to keep it a little bit brighter toward the outside here, toward the face. So that way we drag it down a little bit here. So a little bit more of a V, so like that, if that makes sense. So just drag it down nice and easily. Like that. I don't want to go all the way down. And you don't have to overthink this either. So once you feel like you painted what you need to paint, take the foil out. I didn't take it all the way through the end, so I don't need to take a foil all the way down there. I'm gonna just lay that over top. And fold over those tops just like that. If you wanted to, you could actually fold the sides here, pinch it like that. But I want to like knock this out a little bit so you can see the pattern. This is my favorite comb for this. It's a YS Park comb. Love it. Any YS Park fans out there? I love this. It's a long tail comb. Can't live without it. See, now I'm glad I clipped that bottom section out of the way because I accidentally dropped that. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, same thing. You don't need to match it exactly, but you wanna make sure that if you're gonna take a chunky weave here, that you take a chunky weave there. Same thing here. And if anybody uses a board, cool thing you can do, throw a pop socket on the back of that. Yeah, hair hacks. Never drop a board again. I'll probably drop it right after this though. Okay, so same thing here. Start painting it on, and then just use the corner of the brush as you feather it down. Take it down and try to match what you did on the opposite side. I'm saturating it all the way up here on the top. Then as I bring it down, bring it a little bit further to the right so there's more depth coming toward the back. Don't overthink it again. Once you feel like you've painted where you need to go, leave those ends alone. Pop another foil on. Oh, yep. Maybe it's one of those like weird universe moments, you know, where it's like the, what do you call it when everything's out of sync? I don't know. What's that? The retrograde. It's always nice to blame stuff on things. It must be the retrograde. It must be, yeah, it must be. So what I'm gonna do now is I continue moving up here, is I'm gonna start to intersect this. So it's gonna create a little bit of a herringbone pattern as you move up. It'll create a zigzag through the top there. We use a lot of herringbone patterns. So what I wanna do here is I wanna do kind of the same thing, but maybe instead of the real chunky bit, I'll do a little bit more of a medium weave here. And this is a very fast look. Like once I get like cooking here, you can see you just go. And now maybe I'll bring this down even darker than I did before. Bring it down a little bit further. Another hair hack too, which I actually learned this trick. You know, you can see I have a lot of foils on this board. If I want to take it lower, if I don't have a longer board or longer foil, I just drag it down like this. And then I continue. And for variation, it's good to bring your low light, and this is a demi, which will fade really nicely, but it's nice to vary where it's going to fall so that way you don't get into those weird ombre lines. Now we'll see if this stays, just like that. Take a foil. Instead of putting it up here first, put it down here first to match up with that bottom one. It'll help it to adhere more and it won't slide off. And grab another one, pop it on here. Normally I do fold these over like this, but I'm just trying to move here so you can see more of it. Same thing here. I'm going to take about another half-inch section, cross over that center. Another medium weave here. Drop that out for depth. You always want to drop some depth out, but I don't need to actually skip any sections. You can see I don't really go back in and get more product. I use what I have and I drag it around. If I get more product and start a little bit lower, that might not help with the wispy nature of it, the blending nature of it. So I want to make sure that it's nice. If I take any more product like I just did, I'll start up a little bit higher and get most of it off of my brush. In this case, since I am dragging it down a little bit lower, I like to use the board because I can see that visual depth. Drop that there. Same thing here. You can already see it taking on. It looks really pretty. If you come to the booth at 1 o'clock when I go on, you'll be able to see up close and personal. It'll be so close you can smell me. So catch me toward the beginning of it. I'll just smell better. Okay. So I'm going to continue moving through this whole section here, like this. You can see I cross here, cross here, cross here, cross here, cross here, cross here, all the way through the top. And what this crossing back and forth does is it's creating this like zigzag pattern without us worrying about a zigzag. So it's that zigzag balayage without actually worrying about creating a zigzag. It's really awesome. So I'm gonna do one more here, and I'm just gonna go big on this one. Drop that out, because remember we're adding depth, and I feel like one of the most common mistakes we make when we're adding depth is we don't add enough depth. We always wish we added more. And because we sectioned out this whole area here, that is our depth section. So we are leaving out brightness. We have all this other brightness below. So don't be afraid to take big sections and go for it. See, I pull down and I pull off. Again, keeping it a little bit brighter up here and having it slant back like that. I'm not going to bring this as far down. I'm going to kind of alternate that. There we go. Fold that over. Do one more here. Big chunky weave. Drop that some natural separation there. Pop this under. You can see I'm wrapping her hair because it is long. I'm wrapping it around the board here to hold it in place. If you have a long board, you can hold it up against your chest for some a secure painting surface. But this works for me. Drop that out like that. And we're going to continue working up through the entire top here. We just have a few minutes left. So let's first take a look at the front here and see if we're getting any lift yet. Might not be like immediate, but it will get there, and it's a little deceiving at first because it is so pigmented, but it's beautiful nonetheless. And every time it has just come out better than we could have ever expected. It's so weird. So you can see here, we're already getting this lift, and it's already toned. You know, so we still have some time to go, but I'm about to put a low light on it. That would be bad. But you could we'll touch it up again. But it's lifting, and it doesn't burn your fingers. It doesn't smell bad. It doesn't swell up. You gotta try some of this. Come by the booth and take a big whiff of it if you didn't have a chance to smell it. I just love the smell. We're like, I'm driven by smell and of course performance, and it has both. You guys want to see what a result looks like? What this when this technique is finished, what the result looks like? Yeah, okay. So we did it on a model yesterday, and my buddy Ray, if you guys follow Ray Hornback, he did it on a model yesterday. We have these techniques and strategies so that we can always repeat these looks here. And then I'm also going to show you a full baby light, and I'm going to show you 2 models. She knows how to work it. Give it up for Jenna. Yeah. And that is a diamond dimensional result. Next, I want to show Chelsea, which you saw the picture of her. But Chelsea was a full baby light. Again, raw lift, no toner. So we touched up her roots, level 6. It's super pale yellow, no toner. It's baffling. Yeah. Let's catch a wave and take a trip to higher ground.